In the records of the Tudor dynasty, there is a particular artifact linked to Queen Elizabeth I, the secret ring she wore on her hand until the very end of her life. To the world, it was merely an exquisite piece of jewelry, inlaid with gems and gold, a symbol of the authority of the Queen who ruled England for nearly half a century. But when her attendants opened the ring after Elizabeth passed away in the year 1603, they were astonished to discover hidden inside two tiny portraits, one of Elizabeth herself, and one of the woman who had been beheaded during the reign of Henry VIII, her mother, Anne Boleyn. This detail revealed a truth Elizabeth had always kept close. Though the court deliberately sought to erase Anne's honour, deep within, the Queen carried the memory of her mother, condemned for treason and adultery. Historians have even suggested that the ring was a silent declaration from Elizabeth, affirming her legitimacy, while also serving as a warning to those who plotted against her throne. Anyone who touched the Tudor crown would face the same tragic fate as the traitors who once schemed within the palace. From a piece of jewelry, the ring became a symbol of an entire dynasty shrouded in secrecy, where hidden messages were veiled in the smallest of details. It leaves posterity to wonder, was Elizabeth not only a resolute sovereign on the political stage, but also a master in wielding symbols to convey political messages amid the endless perils of her court? This ring was not an ordinary luxury item. It was a micro-artwork of the portrait miniature tradition which flourished in the Tudor court, used to convey both political and private messages. In the context of the Tudor dynasty, filled with succession intrigues, Elizabeth carried the ring as a silent deed of her legitimate origins. For, from her earliest years, her status had always been in doubt. After the death of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII had issued an order to annul the marriage, causing Elizabeth to be regarded as illegitimate and stripped of her right to inherit the throne. Only many years later was she restored to the rank of princess. What is striking is that Elizabeth chose to keep this ring secret, never displaying it publicly. In the court, the name Anne Boleyn was taboo, for any mention of her reopened a political wound. The king's execution of his queen after only 3 years of marriage, yet Elizabeth kept her mother's image within a jewel she wore until the end of her life. This was a covert defiance of official history, a way to affirm that her blood was not tainted, and that Anne Boleyn deserved to be remembered as the rightful queen. Modern historians look at the ring and believe it reflects most clearly Elizabeth's inner conflict. On one hand, she cultivated the image of the Virgin Queen, the chaste, independent monarch tied to the ideal of the nation rather than to marriage or lineage. On the other hand, deep within, she longed to remain connected to the memory of her disgraced mother. The ring became an invisible bridge, linking 2 generations of Tudors on one side, the queen who fell in injustice, on the other, the proud sovereign who glorified the dynasty. From this ring also comes the theory that Elizabeth used it as a kind of political talisman. In the Tudor world, where betrayal could hide behind a cordial smile, where even siblings could conspire to seize the crown, wearing a symbol of origin and legitimacy gave Elizabeth a source of inner strength. It reminded her that her mother's death was the result of treachery within the court, and that she herself must remain ever vigilant. Elizabeth's secret ring was therefore not merely a family keepsake. It was proof that the Queen used the past as a compass to guide her through perilous years of rule. In every political move, from suppressing the rebellions of Mary Stuart to confronting Spain, the shadow of Anne Boleyn was always present, not in words, but in the quiet presence of the ring upon the Queen's finger. When Elizabeth I drew her last breath in the year 1603, her attendants removed the ring she had worn all her life. The moment it was opened, 2 tiny portraits appeared, and for those who witnessed it, this was not only an emotional discovery, but also a silent testament of the Queen. In Tudor politics, where even a letter could be deciphered like a code, the secret portrait carried even greater symbolic weight. Elizabeth left no direct heir. The crown passed to James VI of Scotland, the son of Mary Stuart, who had once been her fiercest rival. The question arises, why did Elizabeth keep the ring hidden until her final moment? Was it not merely a family keepsake, but also a political message directed to her successor and to the English court? Scholars have identified two layers of cipher in the ring. The first was personal. Elizabeth wished to affirm her legitimacy, even though her mother had been slandered. This was the Queen's way of declaring to future generations that her crown was not the product of chance or political luck, but stemmed from true Tudor blood. The second cipher carried broader political meaning. As the English court entered a new era under James I, the ring served as a warning. Any heir to the throne must remember the tragedy of Anne Boleyn, a queen destroyed only because courtly factions manipulated power. Elizabeth, through silence and symbol, sent a message: a ruler must remain, ever watchful of betrayal, or risk repeating the calamities of the past. Some researchers have even argued that Elizabeth kept the ring as a key to control factions. By neither displaying it publicly nor fully concealing it, she created a political grey zone. Those loyal to her understood that the Queen remained fully conscious of her Tudor lineage. Those who plotted against her, on the other hand, needed only to see her wearing the ring to be reminded it was not just jewellery, but a warning of the ruthless measures Elizabeth was prepared to use to safeguard her crown. The Tudor court was a labyrinth of intrigues. The nobility was divided between those who supported an alliance marriage with Spain and those who leaned toward France, not to mention the Church, which still sought to restore Catholic power. In that context, Elizabeth used a tiny object as a political tool. It was like a shield that protected her, but also an invisible dagger, threatening anyone who dared to test her loyalty. The ring also calls to mind Elizabeth's habits. She rarely displayed emotions openly. Instead, she favoured symbols and rituals to transmit her messages. Her decision to wear all white at her coronation, her choice of the title, the Virgin Queen, her deliberate crafting of myths around herself, all were calculated. The ring, in that sense, was the final piece, yet the most intimate one, in the game of power that Elizabeth mastered. The irony is that only when the ring was opened after her death did the secret truly come to light. Elizabeth herself seemed never to intend any explanation. She left a riddle for posterity, a veil that made the Tudor dynasty all the more mysterious. And in the moment, the crown was transferred to the House of Stuart. The ring became a testament to a timeless message. The throne can only endure if the ruler remembers the blood and tears shed within the depths of the Tudor court. It must also be remembered that Elizabeth reigned in a Europe engulfed by religious wars. Pope Pius V issued a bull in the year 1570, declaring Elizabeth deposed and releasing her English subjects from their duty of loyalty to her. This was nothing less than an official call for rebellion. From that moment on, the Queen could never feel secure. Every cup of wine, every handkerchief offered, even every new servant entering the court could be a tool of assassination. The secret ring Elizabeth always wore on her hand was therefore regarded by many historians as a silent reminder betrayal could come at any time, even from those closest to her. Elizabeth knew this well, for as a child, she had witnessed her mother executed after only a few days of a hasty trial. To her eyes, the royal court was not a place of safety, but a battlefield, where survival depended only on wit and vigilance. More than once, Elizabeth narrowly escaped death. The Babington plot, for example, aimed to kill her while she was walking in Richmond. It was the spy network of Francis Walsingham, the Queen's loyal hidden hand, that decoded the secret letters and exposed the entire plan. Mary Stuart was convicted and executed in the year 1587, ending the greatest threat to the throne, but also pushing Elizabeth into direct confrontation with Catholic Europe. leading to the legendary clash with the Spanish Armada in the year 1588. The irony was that even when Elizabeth triumphed, betrayal never ceased to lurk. Factions within the court vied for influence, and whispers about succession continuously crept through the palace halls. With advancing age and no direct heir, Elizabeth knew well that the Tudor crown always rested on uncertain ground. Perhaps this is why the ring containing the portrait of Anne Boleyn carried such heavy meaning. It not only reminded Elizabeth of her legitimate origin, but also served as a kind of curse, passed down from her mother, to be ever watchful of traitors in the shadows. For they are always present. Even when she was celebrated as the most powerful queen in Europe,